Hello everyone, welcome to the Diamonds track breakdown. Be warned, this track is very simple. It may sound complex and cool, but it's very simple at its core. I was originally going to make this breakdown video when Diamonds hit 1,000 views, but we're a little past that. So thank you all so much for all the support on this song. Thank you very much. So let's get started on the intro. So the intro is very simple. I have this guitar from Labs, which I believe is the plucked guitar, and peel guitar, whatever. So we have some cool velocity changes, nice little pattern. I don't know if I could play this on guitar, but I would try if I could. But essentially what we have going on here on this guitar is we have some OTT, some reverb, and what's really giving that nice kind of tone is the chorus and the flanger. So it really gives that nice, soft, atmospheric touch to this. And if we move on later, then the one cool thing I did is that when you max out the velocity, it kind of sounds more like a distorted electric guitar, and I really use that to my advantage here in the build-up. So you can really hear that top melody is kind of cool, just sitting in the background. So it's very cool, very cool. Labs is definitely a plugin I would recommend to anyone just because it's kind of like Contact, but free, and free is always nice. Next, we have this vocal. This vocal is rendered directly from the drop, but it has like, you know, some high passes and stuff on it. It's pretty much this vocal, Aloma Steel vocal hook, Love at Midnight, and it's pitched down, and I put it into a Slice X, so it sounds cool. So essentially, I just did this auto slice thing here, and it made some cool slices that I can play around with. So the one thing I'm hearing is that I do not have Little Altar Boy on this computer, but the only reason I'm using Little Altar Boy instead of a normal distortion is because in case I ever wanted to do any kind of format shifting for these vocals, I wanted to have it all in one plugin. You really got to find some ways to work around it, especially when you're working with a limited mixer track such as FLs. But I don't like using Patcher, so that was my alternative for that. But anyway, here is how it sounds with distortion. So a little crunchier. I'd probably boost this a little bit more. Probably about there. And the distortion really helps to keep everything kind of in check. But here in the intro, it's just kind of, you know, low pass, reverbed out, delayed. Makes it sound nice. Really keeps it nice there in the background. Lovely. So then we move on to the later parts of the intro. I was originally going to have a vocalist on this, so the intro is a little longer than I would preferred if I was making this now. But I have some splice vocals here on top of it. And the processing chain on this is extremely simple. You know, we have the chorus there, we have some reverb, delay, all tucked away with an OTT to give it a nice sound. We have a distortion that says version mismatched. Then we have some EQing. I'm guessing this is for a filter. And then we have some stereo separation and a compressor. And then we have this external thing for recording vocals that I never took out. So yeah, the vocal is very simple, sounds good. It's only used here in this intro part because the rest of the song gets kind of busy and I couldn't find places to fit it. But my favorite part right here is definitely like this diamond hook. It's very fast paced, which is what I wanted for a build-up. So this vocal worked pretty well altogether. Then we have this respace, which I can guarantee you is going to be from, yep, Colourbass Essentials. And apparently there's absolutely no processing on this. There's not even a mixer channel routed to it. Why I did that, I'm not sure. I made this song a long time ago. 28/5/24. Okay, yeah, so probably around the same time last year. I'm guessing it's just because I never needed to. It already has the nice sound that I'm looking for. Never gets sidechained, so I guess I just didn't care that much about it. Along with this guitar lead, we have these little break fills. And that just goes along with the progression, sits nice in the background. Then, of course, we have a piano, which is going to be the Labs soft piano. And the processing on this shouldn't be any more than nothing. That makes sense. Then we have some pads. I used a combination of pads. Shark's Mission World Shaker. Mission World Shaker makes some insane pads, so I always use his pads whenever I'm making a song. Just so pretty. And what's really giving that granulized feel is the Shark pad here. And just hearing that in the background all together just makes it so nice and so atmospheric. Kind of like a Botanica feel, if you've ever heard that. And it's quiet, but you can really notice it in the background without it. Super nice. So we have a variety of FX here. We have some downlifters, some impacts. This looks like an impact from a hyper pop or Dario Core sample pack, which is layered with another Mission World Shaker downlifter. And then we have a reverse vocal that I probably rendered from reverb from an Edison. So there's some clicking there. If I was doing it now, I'd probably add some reverb and tighten this up so it's a smooth transfer. Other than that, the intro is very simple. We have the rendered vocal that's playing on every other 4 bars. Just kind of reverbed out in the background. And then we have another section that leads into the build-up. And the build-up is just as simple. We have some crashes and such. And we have this snare along with this ride that's following and giving some movement to the high end. And this was a very methodical choice to go with snares instead of kicks for build-ups, because I've always liked the feeling of snares when it comes to building movement rather than kicks, because if you're making something that's very melodic and high tempo, then a snare is going to work out better in my opinion. If you're doing something where it's more trappy, kind of, like dubstep-y, then a kick might work, but it all depends on context and what you do around it. In my case, a snare worked much better. So we have the rendered vocal once again. This time much more quiet. Then we have some renders of some of the drop elements. So we have saws. And all these are gradually building to build tension. And then we have a build sub, which is just slowly increasing in pitch. This is another staple thing I do. I always like the build subs I do. Then, of course, we have some risers. One from Goosey, Sharks. Just always here to build tension. Then we have some short risers from Oversampled. just building as much tension as we can in this. Then we have another downlifter. And then we have a white noise transition. Then we get to all the automations. I'm not going to explain what every automation does, but essentially all of these are controlling various different effects and elements, so the Buildup has a nice clean transition to the pre-drop. So you see, essentially, it's going to be reverb mix levels, it's going to be EQing, high pass, low passing, pretty much make it so I'm doing a manual endless smile, if that makes sense. Which I don't need to do, but I like doing it because I like having control over my sounds. So you see the balance of the fruity balance mix level is also being turned down. So while it's being lifted up in this nice kind of motion, and it's all being smeared together, you're still not having the side chain. So it's one gradual motion throughout the Buildup. And then we get to the drop. The drop is just about equally as simple. Just a couple effects, a couple elements. Let's start with the drums. We have some kicks and snares. So then we have some rides and crashes and a 1/16 hi-hat pattern. This is just giving some more movement in the high end. Then if we get down here to the actual effects, in every breakpoint when the snare hits, we have some nice glitches. And I'm guessing they gradually get different. And these are from Ordnance Samples Opal, which I made a video on over on their YouTube channel if you'd like to check it out. And then we have a nice water sample to go underneath everything. And then another pad layer. So essentially what I did is I took the elements from the colorbass drop and I put them underneath the main drop. And it gives a nice little pattern and kind of a nice little undertone to everything. Nice little extra tiny bit of tonality. Next we have some super saws, which the processing shouldn't be any more than some OTT. Then we have some reverb. This is a controlled reverb, so I can get those nice reverb sweeps. We have a normal reverb for the actual synth itself. Then we have a compressor, working a little bit on this mid-range. And then we have a stereo enhancer, and then one final EQ for transition work. Then we have a super saw, another super square, mind you. And this is going to be the exact same processing, but just a little bit more boost in the high end. Next, we have this lead, which this is a very Sharksy kind of skybreaky lead. A lot of movement with the vibratos and pitches. This is taken directly from my preset pack as well. And this is also the same lead used in See It Through. So essentially what I did here is I meticulously crafted this so that it goes up 3 semitones. So whenever I wanted to do a pitch bend, I made sure to place it in a way where it wouldn't be, out of tune. And it turned out really cool. Turned out really well. The pitch bends are definitely my favorite part. Super cool part, especially when you layer it with all of the different elements in this drop. Works out super well. Then we have an ARP that's just, playing in the background. Just playing the same chords as the note. Then we have a sub and this little fart bass thing here. The sub shouldn't have any processing on it, but this definitely does. So we have a OTT, then we have a saturator. There's going to be a saturator. Don't let the masses lie to you. And then we have some work here on the bass and getting rid of some of that mud in the low end. And then we have a stereo separator to make it mono. And then, of course, we have the vocal that we talked about earlier. And to go underneath everything, to give a little bit more in the high end, we have this white noise. After all that, we have some more glitches here from Mission World. Filling up the empty ports. Then we have some more downlifters. And then we have a background FX from NASCO. Love these background effects. And that's really it for the actual drop. It's very simple, sounds good, which is all that matters. And then, of course, we have some automations to work on the transitions and all that, which leads us into the second buildup and the second drop. So the one thing I wanted to do with this is I wanted to be melodic dubstep, color bassy, and then I wanted the third drop to have a mix of both, which you'll see in a second. So the second buildup is nothing short of the exact same thing. And then we lead into another pre-build that's slightly different. So instead of having the ba-ba-ba, which is very fast, we have this slower one that goes through as it goes through it slowly. And then we have this callback to the first drop, which I think is very important to have callbacks in your songs, which is just the saw layer. And that creates a lot more kind of energy and surprise when all this color bass elements hits. And to start out with the actual elements, the main bass here is a Mission World shaker sample once again. It's just a bass that I have layered with a couple elements. So I have this nice undertone bass that's made in Harmor from a Skybreak tutorial. And that goes underneath it really well. And then we have some transients. Transients really help with trying to lock that sound in and make sure those stabs are really hitting. Then we have water, the pad layers from the first drop. Then we have an ARP, which is doing a little bit in the background. Then, of course, we have the vocal and the sub on top of it. And then that's really it, besides for, you know, some glitches, some background effects, and some slight reverb automations. Then a couple more elements to note. In this drop, we have a Reese, which is from Colourbass Essentials, once again. You guys think I'm kidding when I say I use my presets from Colourbass Essentials a lot. I really do use them like in every song. Just because the whole reason of Colourbass Essentials was because these are the sounds I use in every production I do. So you're going to be hearing a lot of stuff here. So once again, we have this nice growl from Irate. And then we have another one of those harmonic phase undertone basses. And you can really notice it without this undertone bass. It really gives a nice texture to the end of the bass. You can do what Kallyn did with the Colourbass Volume 2 video. And you can morph these two together and get an even better sound. And for the rest of the drop, I just meticulously laid out patterns that sound cool, breaks that sound cool, like this one. Then we have another bass that's being paired together with another one of those harmonic phase basses. And I believe the processing on this shouldn't be any more than some OTT, disperser, OTT, compressor. So yeah, very boring second drop here, really. And then, of course, we have the saw synths from the first one to bring it all together into this nice breakdown. And there's nothing different about this breakdown besides this little trappy part, which I have a softer kick and a softer snare. And they're just playing a nice little trappy part here with some of the elements. Then we have a normal sub here. Instead of the Reese. So I always do trappy stuff like that in most of my breakdowns. So then we lead into, once again, another build-up that absolutely has nothing different than the previous two. Then we go into a build-up, then we go into a pre-drop that has something a little different than the other two. And this time we introduce elements from the first and third drop into this third one. So we have this nice lead that comes in, and we have this nice pattern that mixes both melodic dubstep and color bass elements into this nice drop. So the hardest part about this is just making the patterns and making it sound nice. So I really had a bunch of time kind of trying to figure out a good melody for this. So it all sounds pretty good, comes together, it's a nice little section. And then we go into a second half of the drop that's a direct ripoff of the second. And then we go into the outro. So yeah, very simple song, nothing really to see, but it just shows you that, you know, you don't need a lot of stuff in a song to make it sound good. I hope future songs I put out that have a little bit more work done to them are more interesting than this one. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to check out this project file along with many other production assets, you can check out my Gumroad or my Scraps audio store and get some nice goodies for yourself. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Diamonds is out now on all platforms. Make sure you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.